Hi guys, and welcome back to another Champions League video. Moving on to round 3. Round 2, quick recap, no scores correct. I've got no scores correct in the Champions League so far, so I'm struggling with it. I'm hoping my first correct score can come here. Let's see what I've predicted. And starting off with Club Brugge versus Man City. Now, Club Brugge, they've played 2, they drew their first one with PSG. Then they beat Leipzig, so I'm expecting a tight encounter here. I just think Man City have got enough to edge it, so I'm going to go tight game, but City to win 2-1. PSG versus Leipzig now, and PSG, they beat Man City 2-0. They played pretty well in that game. It was very much on the counter-attack as City had a lot of the ball, but PSG hit them on the counter with Messi, Neymar and Mbappe. It's pretty deadly up front, so I think Leipzig are going to struggle to keep them out. Leipzig's form isn't great either, and after losing that last one to Club Brugge, I think PSG have the upper hand here. But I don't fully trust them defensively, so I'm going to go PSG to win 3-1. On to Atletico Madrid versus Liverpool now. And Liverpool's form in the league has been very good. They're unbeaten. They dismantled Watford 5-0 at the weekend, which was obviously a brilliant result. And they did play some very good football, although Watford were awful. Atletico, their last game was against Barcelona. They won 2-0. Barcelona are obviously in disarray at the moment, but it was a great result for them, and they're doing very well in the league as well. For this one, I think it's very difficult to call. Atletico games are normally low scoring, and I think they're going to put a low block on and just keep them out for as long as they can and probably nick the first goal. So I'm going to go with, straight down the middle, a 1-1 draw. Porto versus Milan next, and AC Milan, they were so unlucky not to get anything against Atletico Madrid. They obviously had that sending off. They played really well, but they just had the points nicked from them. So I think they'll get a bit of revenge here in the group, get their first points on the board, and I'm thinking Milan are going to win this 2-1. Besiktas versus Sporting CP next, and both these teams are on no points in their group. They're struggling, so it's a difficult game to call because it could go either way, but I'm going straight down the middle, 1-1. Ajax versus Dortmund next, and this game for me, it just feels like it's going to be chaos. Normally, Ajax, they score a lot of goals, they don't concede many in the league, but Dortmund score a lot of goals as well, and they concede quite a few goals. They're not great defensively. I'm pretty sure they haven't kept a clean sheet in the league yet. So this is going to be quite high scoring for me. But I think just having Haaland, it gives Dortmund 1 or 2 goals, to be honest. Every time I see him score, he always adds a second. So for this one, I'm going to go Dortmund to win 3-2. Inter Milan versus Sheriff now. And could the dream continue for Sheriff? They've won their first 2 games. They beat Real Madrid with a brilliant volley from outside the box in their last game. They were dominated for the majority of that game. I watched the highlights. It was just Real Madrid shooting from everywhere. But they held them out, and they scored a brilliant goal to win it. And you have to think now, if they can get one more win in this group, 9 points, that's probably enough to get through the group. So, will they get it here? I'm not so sure because Inter Milan are at home. However, I can see them getting a point. I'm going for a 1-1 draw. Shakhtar versus Real Madrid now. And Shakhtar, they've been poor here. Real Madrid, they've been good. Obviously in the league they've been good. In the Champions League they've played well. They just haven't haven't got that result against Sheriff where they obviously should have won that game. It was a big shock, and if you look at the stats, they easily should have won that game. However, they let that one slip. I don't think they're going to let this one slip. I'm going Real Madrid to win 2-0. On to Barcelona versus Dynamo Kiev now. And this is difficult to call. With Barcelona, I just keep thinking, it's going to click now. It's going to click now. And it never seems to. They're really struggling this season. They've been awful in the Champions League. They lost their last one against Benfica. They were absolutely battered. And I'm just not sure how to call this because, as I say, it will probably click if I say they're going to do badly, but I just can't see them winning it for some reason. And I think the players might want Ronald Koeman out. It seems like the players are sort of trying to get him out of the job. That they don't believe in anything he's putting out to them by the looks of it. So I still think they'll have enough to get a point, but I'm going for a 1-1 draw. Benfica versus Bayern next. And this is an interesting game because Benfica, obviously, they were brilliant against Barcelona, and it sort of makes me think, could they do something here? Could they just get a shock and catch Bayern sleeping? Now, Bayern, they are the group stage kings. They always win all their games in the group stage, or they always seem to. They might draw the odd one here and there, but they have very good records for the group stage. It's really tight, and I could actually see Benfica possibly getting a point out of this, but I can't not back Bayern. So I'm going for a tight game, Bayern to win 2-1. Man U versus Atalanta now. And Man U, they struggled against Leicester. They lost 4-2. There were some brilliant goals in that game. Greenwood's first one was brilliant. Tielemans with the equaliser was just an incredible finish. Whether he meant it to go in the top corner, I think he did mean to chip the goalie, but only he'll really know. But it was a brilliant finish, and they could do with a player like Tielemans, to be honest, in the middle of the park, but they don't have someone like that, and that's why I can see them possibly not winning this game. It's so evident that they're missing that defensive midfielder. Everyone knew it at the start of the season while we were still in the transfer window, and it was the one issue that they never addressed, and it's coming back to bite them now. So, Atalanta, they're in decent form. I'm going down the middle, 1-1 draw. Young Boys versus Villarreal next. And Villarreal are the draw specialists, to be fair. If you look at their record in La Liga, they draw so many games this season. It's actually, it's just crazy to see how much they've drawn. But I don't think I'm going to go for a draw here. Young Boys, they obviously won their first game against Man U, and it was a big shock, and everyone sort of thought that they'd kick on. They then only just lost 1-0 to Atalanta, which wasn't a bad result. Well, it was a bad result because they lost, but it wasn't a bad performance, sorry. And I don't know. I just think Villarreal, they're very defensively sound. They tend to get 1-1s, 0-0s. And I just feel like they've got enough to stop this Young Boys attack. And then they've got Gerard Moreno at the other end of the pitch. I'm going Villarreal to win 1-0. Salzburg versus Wolfsburg next. And this is interesting because Salzburg, they've always had very good young prospects that play well in the Champions League, but they never get anywhere in the competition. They're doing well so far. They've got a draw against Sevilla, then they beat Lille, and they've had quite a few penalties so far. So I can probably see them getting a penalty in this game, and I'm going to back them to win it. I don't think Wolfsburg are seeming like the team I expected them to be here. They've drawn both their games, but they don't seem to have that cutting edge. So I'm going Salzburg to win 2-1. Lille versus Sevilla next. And again, this is another difficult game to call. This group's very difficult. There's been a lot of draws so far. I'm going to go for another one here. 1-1. On to the last group. Chelsea v Malmo as the first game. And Chelsea, they beat Brentford 1-0 in the league. Brentford in the second half were all over them. Edouard Mendy, an unbelievable performance, deserved man of the match, and they just don't look like conceding many goals. The fact that they didn't concede in that game when Brentford had the chances that they did and were all over them, it's what titles are made of. For Chelsea in the league, I think they're going to go pretty far and be in that title race the whole time. For Chelsea in the Champions League, I think they're going to get far as well. And I don't think they'll concede here. Chelsea to win 2-0. And the last game is Zenit versus Juventus. Now Juventus, interesting. They've won their last 3 games in all competitions 1-0. So here in St. Petersburg, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go Juventus to win 1-0. So that's it. Those are my predictions for the third round of the Champions League. Please let me know in the comments what you agree with, what you disagree with, and put your predictions down in the comments. Please like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more Champions League content.